Hey folks, so this is going to be a little bit of a departure from our usual videos. Today on the channel, I will be looking at making my Keychron C1 mechanical keyboard a little bit more quiet because it is driving my wife up the wall and I would like to keep my marriage going. So come along and let's see what we can do. Alright, intro aside, this is, as I said, the Keychron C1 mechanical keyboard wired. Now I was an idiot and I didn't get the hot swappable one, so changing the key switches themselves, while possible, I would have to desolder every single one of them, and I am not doing that. I would rather just buy another keyboard, which I'm not going to do because I like this one. Anyway, so I have a couple of options. Some people like putting foam in underneath the keyboard, and I'll be taking this apart in a moment just to show you that. What I'm going to do instead of foam is use this silicone. This is Pinky Sil quick set silicone for molding. I've used it a number of times for actual molding purposes, to do with resin casts, things like that. I quite like it. It's a local Australian manufacturer. Yeah, so I'll be filling the base with silicone, which should add some heft and add a little bit of dampening. And the other thing that I'm going to be doing is adding these little O-rings inside each of the keys. Now, what that does is it stops, I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, but when I clack down on a key, it's got quite a thunk when it bottoms out. And I think that's what's really driving my wife up the wall. So what the O-ring does is it sits on the stalk inside the key. Actually, let's take a key out and I will show you directly. Let's see if I can get that on that thingy cam here. So it will sit directly in there on top of that stalk, and instead of allowing the key to bottom out, what it will do is it will stop, I think it's about 1.5 mil of travel before it hits the bottom, and just give that little bit of a cushion. I think first and foremost, let's do a sound test to get a baseline of where we're at now, why it's too loud, and let's get into the work. So, as you can see, it's pretty clacky. I'm just going to basically tear this down and then let's get into the pour of the silicone. Yeah, as you can see, this is the fully soldered in one, not the hot swappable, so I will not be taking this apart, but instead what I'll be doing is filling this base with silicone. Now, what I will need to do is level, because you can see that there's two types of standoffs here. There's these ones, which actually holds the screws in place, and then there's these shorter ones, which is what the keyboard here, rests against, and that is the level that I want to get the silicone to. So it's going to be quite deep up here. I'm going to have to block off some of these, like the feet holes, so that the silicone doesn't run out. And the little USB and switch hole up here, I'm going to have to block those off so the silicone doesn't come out of there. And then, because these aren't level right now, they're kind of angled up like that, I'm going to have to lift this up just a touch. I'll measure that and make sure that is nice and flat, probably use a little bubble level or something. And yeah, I might just use some blue tack maybe, just to hold it at a certain height. And then mask it off, mix up the Pinky Sil, pour it, see what we get. Okay, so I found some old Pinky Sil, which I think I'll try to use first, just to get that used. I got some mixing cups, I've got a little container to do the pouring, I've got some scales so that I can do accurate weighing of the two parts, because I do need to make sure that the two parts are equal before pouring, and then mixed thoroughly. I do have a mixing stick as well, and I got my little level here and some blue tack. So what I was going to do, like I said, I think I will try to level this with the bubble level. Now, the way that I figured I can do that is I've found two posts that have roughly nothing between them, which is this one right here and this one up here, and I can get the level between that point and this point like so, and you can see it is unlevel. But if I start lifting this very gently, it doesn't take much before the bubble centers, and that would be our level point. So what I'd want to do now is just chuck this up across the board, and like I said, I'll probably use some blue tack to do that. So if I get a little bit out like that, yeah, and then we are level. Cool. So like I said, now all we need to do is mix our pinky seal and tape up these spots. So yeah, let's figure out how we're going to tape these up. I think I might just put some tape on the inside there. Maybe a little bit of washi tape. So I have this brand new grey roll, so that should be pretty good. It does hold a nice even line, so let's put that across the edge here. Okay, I think I'm done. So as you can see here, I made a little bit of a moat. Because there's switches and little USB connectors that float down, I just left out a little gap there. I don't think it'll really make much of a difference, but otherwise I have completely sealed up this side with washi tape, and hopefully this side seals well. But I guess we'll find out. If it doesn't, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put down some wipes just underneath here so I don't make a mess on my tabletop here. Alrighty, let's just double check that we're still level. Yeah, that's pretty spot on. Okay, so let's get to mixing. Now it is, I'm using the two part, so there's the part A, pinky seal, and here is part B of the pinky seal. Now I'm going to need more than this to fill it here, which is why I have another box over there. But let's pour out the rest of these. It should be about even. And yeah, get to making. Bit of a discrepancy here, so we have 150 part A and 127 of part B, so let's get those topped up with the fresh new stuff. Ooh, new bottle, new label, nice. Let's get that up to maybe 200 if we can fit it. Let's see if we can go all the way to 250. Nah, 200. Okay, 200 is close enough. I will wipe that up in a moment. Okay, and then let's get 200 of this. Part B. Oh, look how much more runny that is. That's concerning. Guess that old pinky seal was a little bit old. I'll just have to mix these together very well. Okay. There we go. 200 and 200, and let's put those together in my tub here. Now I'll go for little porry sticks. Let's get this one out first. You may notice I'm wearing gloves because these are not chemicals you want to get on your hands ever. So be careful. Now using a different porry stick, let's mix up this part B. Get the old mixed with the new. And let's add that to the part A. And make a part E. Ah. Now, I believe I have about 6 minutes work time with this mixture, so that means as soon as these are combined, I have 6 minutes to mix and pour. And then it sets up within about a half hour. I think that's as much work time as I'm going to get. Alright. And now we wait. Let's grab another stick and try to pop some of these bubbles before they form in there. See how that goes. I'll be back in about a half hour. Okay, it is a half an hour later or so, and as you can see by our little pot of extra here, we have some pretty good silicone. It is nice and solid, and you can see that it peels as you would expect silicone to do. So what we can do now is peel this out. So let's get our thingamajiggers out there, and you should be able to just start peeling it straight from the side. The silicone's really good about detaching. Yeah, look at that, it just lifts right up. So let's use our little pry tool here. Try not to tear any of these posts. Now I'm mostly just removing this at the moment so that I can get rid of things like the dam over there, tape, and such, and just make sure it is a nice casting. And there is our mold, and you can see it actually leveled out really nicely. It's thicker at this end, which is at the back, than at the front. Yeah, it actually looks pretty dang good. So what we can do is let's get rid of the tape on the base of our keyboard here. Don't necessarily need to, it's not really going to impact anything, but I just don't like knowing that it's there. So now we've got, that's the base. You can see it's molded really nicely around the foot thingy here. And that's the other side where we created that little dam. We've got a little bit of flashing on the upside here, so what I can do is, using a little hobby knife, sharp blade, and being very careful not to cut myself, I will just get a sharper bit of the blade, and we can just slice that off. Much nicer. And the same thing around all the edges, just to tidy it up, because I am pedantic like that. So I will do that and be back in a moment. Okie dokie, tidied up, and here we go. So here is our pinky sill molding, and we should just be able to plonk it straight back down over all these posts. Let's just make sure it is down solidly all around. And it fits back in really nicely. There's no spots where it's sitting up. Good mold. Alright, now let's pop the little Windows Mac switcher button thingy back in. Oh, that's upside down. There we go. Okay, and let's make sure it is to the right. Yes, okay. And let's pop the keyboard back in. Ooh, okay, so there's a little bit of, you can just see it on camera, there's a little bit of flex, but I think that will go away as soon as I screw it back in, so let's do that. Yeah, that tightens up nicely, which means that's actually going to give a really good absorption because it's actually pressing right up against the board. What I might do is just add a few keys on for now, like the spacebar. Let's get I'm not even going to look at where these go, I'm just going to put them in at random. Now let's hit record, get a good sound sample. Okay. Sounds kind of the same. So the next step, of course, O-rings. Now, these O-rings, I absolutely splurged for the highest quality $7 bag that I could get on Amazon Prime. They are silicone, and they're nice and clear. And like I said, they are approximately 1.5 mil in diameter. I can actually test that. There's my calipers. Zero this out. In the middle. Yeah, look at that, 1.5 exactly. So, what you do is you take your key and you roll it over a little poker thingy, the stalk, like that. Ta-da! You are O-ringed. Yeah, this is going to be tedious, so excuse me while I add O-rings to all of these keys and then put them back on the board. Have it all O-ringed. Now, just from pressing down on some of these while I've been putting them in, I can already tell it is a little bit mushier. I may need to adjust some of the O-rings to be fully seated because I didn't put them all the way in, and it might not have actually pressed the O-ring down all the way, so I may need to just pull a couple of the keys out as I find them and just properly seat the O-ring, which does actually make much of a difference. But I can already tell it is so much quieter. So let's get the microphone back here in position, set up, and let's do a, let's actually plug it in with our connector. There we go. Let's give it a bit of a test. Ooh. Okay, so immediately, some of these definitely need to be adjusting because I'm not getting the full, like I'm pressing E here most of the time, but it's not, so I think I need to just go through and properly seat all of the keys, the O-rings, with some good heavy presses before I give it a typing test. Okay, let's give this another try. That's actually pretty damn good. That's a very marked improvement. So both the silicone in the base to give it a bit more heft and reduce some of that pingy resonance, and the O-rings on the keys in order to stop the bottoming out onto the plate here. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this has turned out. So let's put the cover thing back on, and yeah, that's me modding my keyboard to try to save my marriage. Not much else to this one. Let me know what you think down below if you've done a similar mod like this, but should be back to regular scheduled programming shortly. Thanks for watching.